Okay, so welcome. I'm Susan Hawkins, founder of SHP, and I'm pleased to be joining Christopher Johnson, FCA, and Senior Advisory Member on the board of SHP, to interview Felipe Battaglioli, who is Executive Search Resourcer at Mark Sattin in London, UK, about working in the UK as a Brazilian. So Felipe, hi and welcome. Can you tell us briefly, hello? Tell us briefly what you do.
So I work at Mark Sattin based in London, as you said, and I pretty much focus on the executive search. So it's CFOs and FDs based in the UK, majority of them. And I work for the private equity and the private equity backed, so for their investments. So as soon as they need a new CFO or FD for their business, this is where I step up and recruit for them.
And Felipe, Chris here. So tell us something about your background in Brazil, where you grew up and what you did before moving to the UK and going to work eventually with Mark Sattin.
Yeah, so I grew up in São Paulo, Brazil. I was born and raised there. And my career, I started to work at KPMG back in 2007 and moved between Big Fours until 2014. And then after years working in Brazil, I decided to do my own kind of global mobility. So I decided to move to the UK because I have dual citizenship. So this is one of main factors.
US citizenship?
No, I have Portuguese, actually.
Portuguese.
And then I moved to the UK just for 6 months. I wasn't kind of thinking to stay here for so long, like 7 years already. And then I joined Deloitte. As I was just applying CVs to all the companies here, and then they really liked my background and decided to hire me. And then after years, 1 year and a half, 2 years working for them, I decided to work in the other way around, work as a recruiter here. It's a big change because as tax background back in Brazil and then UK, to move in recruitment would be very difficult because they would say, I think you're gonna get bored of the job and move back to the consultancy. And then I stay. I worked for international tax recruitment before, and then I decided to go to a big firm, at Morgan McKinley, worked there for 2 years and a half, and then I decided to move to the finance recruitment, which more kind of interesting for me in terms of my background back in Brazil. And now I've been working for 1 year, pretty much focused on executive search. And it's challenging. It's a fast-paced environment, and we always have like opportunities here, to be honest.
So you moved from Brazil to the UK, basically from one Big Four firm to another Big Four firm.
Yes.
But staying in tax. So obviously there's a transition from Brazilian tax to UK tax. Yeah. The sort of the skills around tax, how transferable did you find that? Because obviously the tax is different, but I suppose a lot of the thinking is similar. How did you find that transition?
Yeah, so we used to work for the global mobility, or it's called in Brazil, I think it's expatriate tax in Brazil. And then moving here, it's completely the opposite. But Deloitte, they said that they really liked my profile because they did in the past some Brazilian expatriates live in the UK that they needed some help. So that's why they decided to hire me. But moving tax from Brazil to the UK, yeah, it's very, very difficult, especially if you move like as one Big Four to another Big Four. It's more challenging. So if you only go for like a global mobility, so moving from, let's say, as an example, a KPMG to KPMG in the UK, with internally it works, but moving from Brazil to the UK without any contacts, apply for the jobs, and the interviews, yeah, it's very difficult, to be honest. I think I'm kind of lucky, I guess.
You're very lucky, I think, that you were working in that specific area in Brazil and then they needed it in the UK.
I did well in interviews, actually. That's me.
If you meet a need, I mean, that's slotting in. That's just perfect.
You raised that. I hadn't thought about that question, but you did well at interviews and now you recruit people. What are your tips for doing well at interviews, especially in the financial sector?
Yeah, so it's pretty much know the company. So I'll recommend, sorry, so I recommend you to read the company's kind of profiles, obviously, who you're gonna speak with. And so I would say look at EBITDA, turnover, get information about everything that you can and be prepared. I would go to the interviews knowing like when the company was founded, who we're going to speak with, their background, some common background as well. So for example, sometimes on the LinkedIn they put that they study finance. So I would say, oh yeah, I studied finance as well. Like trying to find common interests is very good. When you chat with someone, trying to be yourself and really calm, not in a hurry, that want to finish the interview and go back home. Just be yourself and relax. And they really like it. Actually, people, the Reading office, I was stay there for 2 hours of interviews. They really like me. They ask me questions about Brazil, the culture itself, and the clients that they could potentially work. And then, so how it worked was I had interview with the two senior managers, and then I have my final interview the same day with the partner. Like I really like you, like to have a chat with the partner, so you don't need to coming back and forth, for all the interviews. So that's how it worked there. It's just be yourself, honestly. It's just have a knowledge of what kind of company that you have the interviews. It's the main tip from myself to any candidate.
Did you have interviews online from Brazil before you moved to the UK, or did you go to the UK and then have the interviews there?
Yeah, so the way that worked actually, when I moved here after the World Cup in Brazil in 2014, I stayed like 6 months, kind of took my own sabbatical. So I wasn't working, and it was like, yeah, I really like it here. Probably gonna try to find a job, Let's see what happens. Had some interviews, and then I had received offer from Deloitte, and then they'd say, okay, we'll stay here. Then 7 years, time flies already.
Yeah, I went to Brazil thinking I would stay for 1 and stayed for 9. Okay, good. What are the differences, do you think, between living and working in the UK and in Brazil?
I think in Brazil, I mean, you have more kind of friends on your work environment. Obviously, it's a professional environment. You still have some friends. In the UK, could be more challenging because it's a culture perspective. Obviously, here people are more reserved. But once you know them well, they're pretty much like really friendly, And here I can see that's way more fast-paced environment, and everything is like, work a lot. Like I myself, sometimes I do have like 5 minutes break as a lunch. I come back and just straight work. Or sometimes I even have my lunch and do my own job, In Brazil, you take like 1.5 hours probably, which is okay, but here I could not do sometimes 1.5 hours, Pretty much understanding this kind of culture, the work culture.
Would you say your hours are shorter than they would be in Brazil as a result of having shorter lunch breaks and being more focused on work?
Yeah, pretty much more focused on work, especially what I do is kind of executive search, because everything can change so fast. Like client comes to you and say, I want to see some candidates just like now, 7:10. So I just need to work through, Like they don't wait. They don't wait here. They just go all the time, which is good. I like to work in fast-paced environment. So it's not for everybody. But if you really like to work in fast-paced environment, meet a lot of interesting people, open your knowledge in terms of world itself, it's amazing to live in the UK and especially in Europe, I think you gain some knowledge, kind of valuable knowledge in terms of your own self.
Professional development.
Professional development, personal development, both professional and personal development. I think it's very important to having an open-minded here as well, respect the culture, because especially in London, I don't know, are you guys in London or not? Probably.
I'm in Hertfordshire at the moment, just outside.
Yeah, especially in London, it's international, right?
Oh yeah, I lived in London for 6 years before moving to Sao Paulo. Yeah, it's like a different country. It's in itself, London, but a country that brings together so many different nationalities. So it's very unique.
Yeah.
And it's quite different to the rest of the UK, actually.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
So London is quite special. I really like to live here. I live in Reading. Obviously, you still have some like international background and different culture, but in London, it's just everywhere. You have different. Someone speaks Spanish or Portuguese or Italian or English or German. You know, like you have everywhere someone is speaking different language.
Probably almost all of the countries around the world have people, nationalities from those countries in London, I would imagine.
Yeah.
It's very mixed, yeah. Can we, okay, so just moving on to the type of clients that the candidates that you would recruit. So
Yeah.
sort of speaking about the cultural differences and things. How would you describe the profile of the candidates that you recruit for your PE clients? So their qualifications, experience, and attitudes.
Yeah,
The
so
cultural fit.
culture fit, yeah. So in terms of experience, it's someone that's coming from a kind of global companies. Obviously, someone that wants to move from Brazil to the UK, they need to have in mind that you need to work in a global company because you need to have exposure for international clients and work in an area that's transferable to the UK. So I would say like in corporate banking, you can find some international clients and exposure to work overseas, like in the UK could be one. And the qualification wise, I know that you're offering the ACCA and the CFA qualifications in Brazil, so it's very important to have one of them. Obviously, if you want to be focused on the type of clients that you work for, it's pretty much ACCA for the PE backed. Or if you want to work for the PE, you choose the CFA. But then once you have the qualifications, it's kind of important as open doors because people in the UK, obviously as a recruiter, I would say, okay, this candidate already have this qualification, which is amazing, coming from Brazil, and then I start to kind of some checks. So I would say, okay, international exposure for some clients, transferable skill, qualification, UK qualifications, amazing. And then when you moved here, it could be easier to find a job. And then I would recommend to do an MBA or anything related to your area, I would say.
So sort of a UK qualification, having arrived in the UK with an international company, perhaps.
Yes, both the qualification in the UK, international exposure to clients and work, that's transferable work, I would say. Yes, it's one. If someone from Brazil moves to the UK with international exposure, in terms of clients, work, it's pretty much transferable to the UK, and a qualification, it is easier for even the companies to sponsor any candidates.
So
Yeah.
even then, they could even get a visa through the company.
Yeah, they can even move internally. So I would say for work for a global company that they have this kind of global mobility, they could offer global mobility. Yes, they can easily offer you, especially in the UK, they can offer.
Okay, thanks. So Felipe, thinking of the accounting profession broadly, what would someone in Brazil, or could someone in Brazil do for preparation to a move to the UK?
Firstly, it's the English skill. I think you need to have a very, very good English because most of the time you speak English, inside and outside. So the strong knowledge of English. Secondly, I would say the qualifications, ACCA or CFA. And then the experience, as I said, in terms of international exposure of clients or the international accounting. So it's pretty much trying to get into more these kind of three tips that, as I said now, I think is the most important, especially someone that wants to move from Brazil to the UK. It's kind of priority, to be honest.
Thanks, Felipe. And you would recommend either transferring internally from a company in Brazil to a parent company, whatever, in the UK, or getting a job from Brazil in the UK before moving?
I would say move internally. I think one of the best options. Most of my colleagues, ex-colleagues that used to work with me at the Big Fours, they moved internally to the US, to the UK, to Portugal, and then, or you can apply for a job assuming that you have all these three these 3 tips that you can cover, it's important. As the recruiters here, to be honest, I myself, being honest, when I look at someone's profile that's coming from Brazil directly, it's very difficult to help. I would like to, but it's very difficult for me to help someone. It's impossible because I have other candidates here, So I'm trying to find the best of the best for my clients. And if the person doesn't tick all the boxes, it's just not going to work for me, unfortunately.
But the reassuring point, there is a way of doing it with adequate preparation, planning, and ticking those boxes before moving to the UK, basically.
Yeah, everything should be planned, planned in advance. Have all the qualifications, all the kind of English skills, qualifications, work experience. It works like smoothly to move here. But yeah, I need to tick all the boxes, basically.
Okay, thank you very much, Felipe. Thanks, Christopher. Keep in touch.
Pleasure. Thank you, Felipe.
Thank you, Christopher.
Thank you, Susan.
Thanks,
Good
Susan.
luck, Felipe.
Thank you, too.